I think that a really important kind of structural shift in American Jewish philanthropy and American philanthropy more generally is basically a kind of shift from a focus on the circulation of philanthropic capital to a focus on the accumulation of philanthropic capital. The basic structure of American Jewish philanthropy in the late 19th century and well into the progressive era and through World War II was really the system of federation, a kind of umbrella charitable organization seeking often smaller donations from lots and lots of people, and then every year allocating those donations to different causes and different agencies. The federation system was probably the most important kind of infrastructure of American Jewish philanthropy in the early decades of the 20th century. But there were lots of other kinds of organizations that operated in kind, right? That they would rely on these kinds of annual donations, citizen philanthropy, right? Lots of people giving, and that money would be circulated. And the reason someone would give again the next year was, in a sense, because they saw the legitimacy of the organization being shown by the fact that it fulfilled its mission by circulating that capital. And in fact, in federations, there were bylaws that would limit the amount of capital that a federation could hold on to in any given year. There was no sense that money should be siloed or warehoused in these organizations, or that money would somehow grow in perpetuity for something. It was much more of a sense that money would be circulated. And part of this reflected in the beginning of the 20th century a clear kind of backlash against Gilded Age practices, where you had the top 1% really hoarding a lot of money and wanting to hold on to that money for a very long time, wanting to pass it down. And then you had political will for estate taxes to break up monopolistic entities, all of that kind of stuff, right? That sort of tried to pull it apart. I have found in the archives Jewish leaders who were the heads of these different organizations saying, we don't want to be like Carnegie. We don't want to be like Rockefeller. We're not a charity trust. That's bad. That's not good power. That's anti-democratic. All of that critique of philanthropy operating in service of holding power for a few was also in the air, I think. There, though, starts to be a kind of shift away from the kind of politics and economics of circulation toward a prioritization of the accumulation of philanthropic capital. And this happens slowly, really, from the 1940s to the 80s. And I would say that this is the most seismic kind of shift. It involved not only a shift in financial technologies, but also a shift in culture. To say that instead of this philanthropic capital serving its purpose by being circulated to solve particular problems for the public good, it, by growing in accumulated funds and endowments usually, that in and of itself is already somehow in anticipation of its purpose of meeting the public good, and that is a virtue.